alarming. And that's not where we want to be. According to a World Bank report, Africa's largest economy, which is our dearest country, is estimated to have power needs ranging from 25,000 megawatts to about 40,000 megawatts. Our reality today is that the installed generating power capacity is about 12,500 megawatts. But out of the 12,500 megawatts, our transmission and distribution infrastructure can only deliver on average 4,500 megawatts to homes and businesses. This is our reality today. So these power shortages, they are crippling our SMEs. They are hindering the growth of our productive sectors, and they have made the cost of local products uncompetitive. I still remember, days when people would tilt towards the local products because they tend to be cheaper than the imported goods due to the dollar fluctuation, the high dollar rate and all of that. But today you find some of the local products are actually more expensive than the imported ones. So these power shortages, the fuel scarcity, the high diesel prices are all shrinking the profits of our SMEs. Despite all the conversations being held concerning this subject matter, the energy gap across the entire value chain is still looming. Remember, if we're to see the change that we seek, we need to be the change agents. We need to empower one another. We need to recognize potentials. We need to identify opportunities, and we need to create an enabling environment for our businesses to thrive. So this is why we're having this conversation today, focusing on our SMEs. What can we do? How do we support? How do we empower our SMEs? That's why we have our experts here to help us shed more light, give us insights on how to empower our SMEs. Let me tell you a little bit about the company Energy that's given us this platform to have this discussion. So Energy is a distributed utility company that offers commoditized solar lithium storage solutions in Africa. Our vision is to provide sustainable solutions to energy reliability issues across emerging markets. At Energy, we deliver reliable, clean, 24/7 power supply suitable for powering equipment in homes and offices. Our products ensure convenience and stability to help you save electricity, fuel costs, and as well as provide flexible payment options. So I will be introducing our speakers now. Without further ado, let's get into the discussion of the day. So today on Energy Sustainability Series, webinar titled Empowering SMEs in the Commercial and Enterprise Industry Through Energy Security. We've got 4 exquisite, amazing, accomplished speakers, and it's the biggest group we've put together we brought together this year. So these 4 speakers bring a unique perspective to both professional and lived experiences, and take it from me, you don't want to miss this. So it's going to be an interesting time. It's going to be an insightful discussion, and I'm sure we will all learn from this discussion today. So let me start by introducing our speakers. I just bring up the first speaker. Just put up the slide. So we have our first speaker, Mr. Otto Nkeme. He's the head SME banking, Wema Bank PLC. He brings with him wealth of knowledge today and to share insights on how we can empower our SMEs. He's a financial services expert with experience and skills that cut across banking, sales, management, leadership, and project management. Under his leadership of SME banking units, Wema Bank has been transformed to one of the leading players in the SME banking space in Nigeria, culminating in a third place ranking in the SME category of KPMG Nigeria Banking Industry Customer Experience Survey of 2021. Prior to his role as the head of SME banking in Wema Bank, he served as a regional head of sales at Fidelity Bank PLC. Otto holds a Master's of Business Administration MBA degree from the ESU Business School in Enugu State, Nigeria. Let's make welcome Mr. Otto Nkeme. Mr. Otto, you can say hello to us if you can hear us. Are you here?
Yeah, hello. Thank you to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
I hope you're going to have an interesting time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. So let's meet our next speaker. Okay, so we have Mrs. Tolulope Falola. She's an accomplished techno-commercial business executive with 15 years demonstrated ability to create value and drive growth. She has a verifiable track record of delivering strong financial results with proven success in managing P&L, business and strategy development, investment structuring, project development and management, project-based funding, and leading cross-functional teams in the oil and gas, utilities, renewable sector of the African economy. She has developed and managed renewable energy projects in 9 African countries. She has held several C-level positions in various companies across the oil and gas, utility, and renewable sector. Tolulope is a certified management consultant and a fellow of the International Institute of Management Consultants, Nigeria chapter. She has an MBA in International Oil and Gas from the University of Dundee, Scotland, a certified professional energy manager, IEE USA, certified green banking experts, RENAC, certified solar energy experts, ECT UK, and a certified Six Sigma Green Belt professional from USA. She's an advocate of 247 endless impossibilities with solar. Let's welcome Tolulope Falola.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and thank you very much. Thank you so much, Anaji, for having us on this call and for this very important conversation that we're about to delve into. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We're happy to have you here today. So let's bring in our next speaker, Mr. Adeyemi Adeosun. He has 11 plus years in business development, channel sales, retail sales with a passion of solving prevailing business problems. He's passionate about quality customer service, customer retention, and has worked across several sectors, telecommunications, manufacturing, renewable energy industries, in different capacities. He has also managed retail shops with Airtel Network Limited, served in the manufacturing industry, creating business growth and market expansion across 6 states in Nigeria. He has delivered business development and expansion executions in 3 regions in Nigeria within the renewable energy space. He has BSc in economics, certification, retail certified experts, and foundation advanced consultative selling. You're welcome today, Adeyemi. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Ezine. It's great to be part of the panel. We look forward to discussing advancements in the SME business space. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Okay, and our last but not the least speaker, we have Mr. Robo Ibu. He's an independent climate finance advisor, providing investment advice, business development, technical assistance, capacity building, and strategic support across Africa. As a climate finance consultant, he's passionate about what he calls a climate imperative. Robo has spent nearly 5 years establishing and developing the IFC World Bank Group Sustainable Energy Finance program in Nigeria, a program that focuses on solar markets development and financing, as well as other climate financing activities. He builds and manages relationships with various partners, financial institutions, solar companies, developers, corporations, and SMEs, as well as other stakeholders. Robo holds an MBA and a Bachelor's of Science in International Business from Brandeis University, USA, agricultural degrees from the University of Benin, Nigeria, including the Certified Specialist Certificate in Climate and Renewable Energy Finance from the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, Germany. In addition to taking many courses, he has over 18 years of professional experience in climate finance, advisory services, business development, and strategy, business origination and execution, amongst others. So we'll make welcome Mr. Robo Ibu. He will be joining us in the next couple of minutes. So we'll move on to kickstart the session. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. We are excited and we're looking forward to all learning from today's session. So I would go right into the conversation of the day. The topic today is empowering SMEs in the commercial and enterprise industry through energy security. And the questions, so I have a couple of questions for our panelists, and we will start with the Q&As. Now, while the conversation is going, if you have questions, you can type it in the Q&A session. If you have comments, whatever you want to, you can address your questions to any particular speaker that you want to take that on. Okay, so our first point of discussion, we will be talking about analyzing the energy challenges of SMEs and how it affects businesses. So we want to start from the ground roots. Let's even understand what the needs are, what are all of the things. So my first question will go to Tolulope. What are the basic needs? What are the basic energy needs for SMEs in Nigeria? And how important is it for them to meet these needs? So Tolulope, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ezine, for that question. First of all, I want to once again just say thank you. And then, so when you're talking about SMEs, I just want us to also look at, let's look at the statistics, right? Before we even say what do we need? Because we all know that in Nigeria today, I think statistics says that we have about maybe 40 to 45% energy access rate as a country. And this year, I don't even think that statistics were all true for this year, because we've had how many grid collapses this year, to be honest, right? Meanwhile, if you look at the GDP of Nigeria and you look at the GDP contribution of SMEs in Nigeria, today statistics actually show us that SMEs contribute at least 48% to the Nigerian GDP, you know, and they contribute about 84% to employment of labor. So I believe that these SMEs are actually a critical mass and a critical group of people that we all need to begin to focus on. You know, entrepreneurship is not a joke. Entrepreneurship is a lot of hard work. And in Nigeria, it feels like everybody, you know, we are our own government. You know, we provide light, we provide water. If it was possible for us to provide even the roads that our cars would drive on in Nigeria, I'm sure we will do that. So I want to salute everyone, and I want to say well done to everyone on this call joining us. And you know, you are you own or you work with, or maybe you're a partner in an SME company, I want to say that you're doing well, but there's still a lot more that we can do. Now, if you want to dimension what are the basic needs of energy needs of an SME, so an SME even from people that provide cold storage, you're manufacturing pure water, or you're even selling pure water, or you're even, retailing cold drinks. I mean, as little as that, I also don't want us to think, SMEs will just, maybe people in manufacturing or processing. I think it starts from that level. The fact that you can go to your office, you can go to your company, you can go to your shop, and you're able to access power when you need it. You're able to turn the lights on. You're able to charge your phone, because we all know that today, I mean, we're all leaning on a backbone of technology. So you want to be able to have your phones on, be able to charge your phone so you can receive your alerts, you can be able to do your invoicing, you can then go into your productive day and be able to work. So the backbone of everything that we do is actually power. So I would say that power is a basic need that we cannot even afford to trivialize. From having the lights in your office on, I think that SMEs actually need, so you need your lights on, you need your fan working, you need your air conditioning. I mean, look at global warming today. It's actually really hot, so you need your computers running, you need the lights in your faucets running. So I would say that all of this actually is a cumulative of the energy needs. Now, these energy needs in Nigeria, we have all now been left to catering to our energy needs, because there's epileptic power supply, and then we all have to run to the retail station, to the filling station to buy either petrol or diesel, because I mean, we're running a huge economy on diesel and petrol generators today. But I would just like to just bring it in to say that the basic needs of an SME is the ability to get to your office, be able to function, have your lights working, your laptop, and be able to do productive work and be able to earn. And all of this is actually powered by utilities, by your power. It's all on the backbone of having the availability or having access to power, reliable, affordable. A few weeks ago, we had done an audit for a community, and we had realized that the power voltage that was being supplied to that community was 180 volts. 180 volts is not power. It is not quality power. So it means that most of the machinery or most of the appliances were susceptible to getting spoiled because the power quality. So I believe that SMEs actually have a right to affordable, reliable, and sustainable power. And we all need to start looking at, reducing carbon emissions, so reducing petrol generators and all of that. So I think for me, that's the summary of what the energy needs of an SME would be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tolulope, for that insight. Thank you. Okay, so the next question goes to Adeyemi. Looking at Nigeria's potential for energy generation, what are the challenges that limit SMEs from accessing regular power supply?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ezine. I would also like to pick some facts from what Tolulope mentioned. Looking at the contribution of what SME does to our GDP, providing 54% to GDP, 85% of employment. And also with the reality around your introductory that spoke around what we generate now at around maybe a little above 12,000 megawatts and distribution around 4,000 megawatts. And the potential expectation for this country or for the economy should be around 40,000 megawatts to take care of over 200 million people. So judging by the deficiencies we have currently in the country, we've seen that it is a huge problem for government to solve the power challenge. And it is required that we need to come into that space to understand what is required and also to do what is expected to bring things to the expectation of what is perceived, the agreeable state to run the economy. So I would say the challenges around power not being consistent, that we know that is obvious, the challenges around not being able to fix what the prices of what will be required to power alternative sources, which could be diesel. You understand what the challenge was recently when the hike of price in diesel went to as high as 800 naira. So SMEs does not have the right or the power to determine what the prices would be. And there could be other occurrences around the world. If you look at the Ukraine war that happened, the Ukraine and Russia war is part of the responsibility for why the prices of diesel went up. Then we also look at reliability and sustainability of the other power sources and the cost that is going to the bite that the SME feels in their pocket for running those other sources. So practically what it means is SMEs will either need to manage what are the operational hours that is available to me so I don't run on a cost that would be too impactful on my business and the profits will be drained. So looking at all these challenges, they are very obvious that it is the right time for the private sector to step into salvaging the problem we have currently in the country around challenges and power and ensuring we can provide reliable alternative sources that will be clean and that will be meet the expectation of powering the economy to bring it up to speed. I would say the panacea to economic development is power. You provide power, economy will progress. You provide power, people would thrive in their businesses. You provide power, education and all other sectors would also thrive. So I believe addressing all these challenges would help us and the economy will grow. Thank you. That will be it from me.
Thank you very much, Adeyemi, for that. Thank you. Back to you, Tolulope. So how does the epileptic power supply in Nigeria affect the growth of SMEs? What do you think the government should do to mitigate this?
Right. So I'll take the first question. How do you think the epileptic power supply affects growth of SME? And I would backtrack to COVID, right? And I would say that any SME or any entrepreneur that has been able to thrive, that survived COVID, that survived a period of lockdown, actually, I mean, it almost feels like you can survive anything. Now, in Nigeria, if you look at the P&L, if you look at the financial statement or the income statement or your books, you look at and you actually find out that power, the cost of operations, the cost of running power, the cost of buying diesel and all of these things, of running your operations actually accounts for about 60 to 70% of your operating costs. So it's not even salaries, it's actually the cost of being able to power your enterprise. So I think for me, that's already one very daunting issue, because at the end of the year, how are these SMEs going to post profit? What is going to be the motivation for you to move on? Number two, the fact that you are not able to plan. You're not able to plan around your operations. You're not able to plan your operations properly or dimension your operations properly to say, what, today, if we have, look at other developed countries. You can get to work, you can determine how many hours of work you're going to put in. You can determine what is going to come out at the end of the day. You can determine, okay, maybe we're going to produce, maybe the poultry is going to produce this, if there's power and all of that. The fact that SMEs in Nigeria are not even able to plan, and most times are left to last minute whims and caprices of not even having enough power. Also, we can even look at it in this way. A lot of companies, I'm sure each year you do a budget session, right? And then last year you probably had budgeted for expenses in 2022. Okay, so this is how much it cost us to run diesel, this is how much it cost us to run fuel, this is how much NEPA was and all of that. So if we're going to go into this year, let's add a maybe plus or minus 10%. And then we come into this year and we look at the volatility of even diesel prices. How are you even able to plan with that? And all of this actually stems from the fact that we do not have available power. So we are left to. So people had to start beginning of the year. They were buying diesel at 365 naira. Today, diesel is as high as almost 850, and then we in the solar industry, we've been talking to people about solar, and then we look at things like upfront capital, so everybody wants power because everybody needs power. Everybody's business survives and thrives on the availability of power, so but the moment you're spending 60 or 70% right now, a lot of people, margins have been eroded and all of that. So what is going to be the incentive for these SMEs to stay in business at the end of the day, when it feels like the only thing that we're doing is now working for the oil and gas companies? And also you then have the ripple effect of passing on this cost to end users. Now we also look at inflation, right? Inflation, the cost of everything has gone up. Why? If you begin to look at it, it's because they're passing the price to the consumers. Now, how many people are able to now afford it? So you look at affordability, all of these things, definitely. So if you look at all the economics at the end of the day, it's affecting SMEs. So from your own operating cost to the fact that you actually want solar, but then you have high upfront cost, to the fact that, okay, you know what, I can even go to the bank, let me even take solar, but I don't have enough credit, but all of this stems from the fact that we don't even, in the first place, we don't even have infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure base. So sometimes in Nigeria, it feels like there's so many things that are pulling the SMEs. And if only we're able to help people solve this problem, if only we're able to help them hold their hands, if only we're able to help them, amongst other things that people are struggling and grappling with in their business, and we say, we can help you reduce the cost, we can avail you this and that, you can actually have power. And then even when you have power, you can reduce the power that you're using, right? I think that we will then begin to see lots more people delving into the SME space, into entrepreneurship, and the fact that their operations can be profitable. I think it will keep them motivated and keep them in business much longer. So when we then begin to say, oh, what can the government do? I'm not really an advocate of what can a lot of us, we waited for the government to do different things for us for so long, for almost, how many years of my own lifetime that we've all waited for the government. The government, I believe that one of the things the government can begin to do is look at solar players, look at the discos, look at the generating companies. How can we all come together? How can we begin to have like mini grids, pockets and pockets of mini grid? How can they incentivize solar players? How can they incentivize people that want to export to the grid? If you're able to afford solar, maybe you don't even need power. You can export to the grid when the grid is supplying you because you don't need it. And then we're able to then distribute this power to people that really need it at that time. And, they need it for something productive. How can we have like a redistribution of, our power assets or infrastructure? How can we and most importantly for me, I'm happy that we have a lot of SMEs on this call, people that are, manufacturing, agriculture. How can we actually encourage industrial parks? What can the government do to set up like industrial parks where we take people back to the farm heads? We don't have any reason to start transporting things from the farm to Lagos for us to manufacture, and then you're paying almost 250 naira per kilowatt hour. I think that the government needs to begin to look at things like this. How can we even co-locate SMEs in the same place where we are now depending on each other? So so we can provide power, we can provide water, you can provide access, and you don't need to sort out all of that for yourself. All you need to do is pay a rental charge, and you have access to all of this. How can we begin to look at SMEs even partnering together so we can run shifts if we're running if we're manufacturing? So your own shift, your own company needs power during the day. We can run a shift at night. It's going to reduce the cost, and it's going to also build an SME economy for us, a well-rounded economy. So we need to begin to look at things like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tolulope. Thank you. I will move on to Otto. What difference will it make for SMEs if they have unfettered access to a constant power supply?
Thank you very much, Ezinne, and of course I want to welcome the SMEs that are on this call again. We can't exhaust it here. I'm a banker and I lend to MSMEs, I support them, and we know the huge cost that is impacting on MSME. So even looking at the statistics that were rightly mentioned, out of about 42 million registered SMEs in Nigeria, you have about 36.7 million of these MSMEs, especially those of them at the micro level and starter level in rural communities in Nigeria, and they face a tougher challenge accessing power as against MSMEs that are in the urban centers. So, and also you can now begin to appreciate the level of challenges that they go through and the level of cost that they go through. So for MSMEs, they've got like several challenges ranging from the financial and the non-financial. For the financial, basically access to finance, not having a good proper accounting record, and so on and so forth. But the non-financial is quite huge. So you start talking about lack of unskilled labor, lack of manpower, poor infrastructure, poor network, and most importantly, poor power supply. So this power supply is what has really bedeviled the growth and development of MSMEs in Nigeria. And studies have shown that when you see a startup MSME, within the first 5 years, 5 out of every other 10 MSMEs go into extinction because they're unable to cope. And this is largely because they do not have access to unfettered power supply. And of course, if they have access to unfettered power supply, it's going to do a whole lot for them. One is that they're going to be saving a lot in terms of the operating cost, because right now the operating cost is high. In order not to belabor what the other panelists have mentioned, we all know how many grids power failure grids we've had this year. We all know how the cost of diesel has moved from about 287 to 850. And of course, if we now finally remove the subsidy totally, you can imagine what is also going to happen. So this is also going to be impacting the MSMEs. So if they have unfettered access to power supply, one is going to drive down the operating cost. It will also reduce their interest expense because they will now borrow less from the bank, because a whole lot of them that also borrow for working capital needs. And if you look at this working capital injection, it's about 60% to 70% of their working capital goes into powering their businesses, goes into fueling their generating set, maintaining their generating set, buying diesel and all of that. So it will also drive down their interest, their operating expense and their interest expense that they pay to the banks. And of course, it will enable them to employ more. They will be able to scale, they will create more employment, they will improve their line of production. It will also improve their turnaround time and their customer and their quickness to serve. So today, for example, there are some SMEs in some communities that it takes them an average of about 1 or 2 hours to be able to access petrol or diesel. Some of them will have to literally shut down. So you can imagine a barber shop or that woman that blends cassava and all of that in a community, and there's some level of scarcity for even fuel. He or she will have to travel on a bike for about an hour and go and queue up in a fuel station, and to end up buying black market and return 6 hours after. So how does she account for 36 hours? He or she has been able to shut down his business, trying to access either AG or PMS to now come back and power their business. So the impact, that is going to be positive impact for MSMEs if they have unfettered access to power, cannot be quantified. So one, it will drive down costs of operations. Two, it will improve their profitability. Three, it will increase production. Four, it will enable them to employ more people, because when they scale, they'll be able to need more manpower and be able to employ more. And of course, they will also impact the ecosystem, because they will now be able to channel more of their more of these savings to working capitals in terms of buying raw materials for their finished products, and also be able to increase their distribution network. And a lot of people and other SMEs and sub SMEs will also come under the value chain, and everybody will be busy and the economy will keep on improving. So it's very important, and that's why engagements and conversations like this is very important. All stakeholders in the economy need to come together with a view of how to provide affordable and alternative access to power, especially for MSMEs and also households, because we also will include their household, because even these MSMEs that do the businesses in their various business locations also take some jobs home. So even when they get back to their household, they also need power to also be able to relax and also continue some of the jobs that they might have taken home. So for me, SME, we need to do everything humanly possible to enable and support them to have access to unfettered power supply for the obvious reasons that I earlier mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thank you for that. Let's move on to Mr. Robo Ibu. So, Mr. Robo, you're welcome once again to this session. So based on our current reality, what alternatives do SMEs in Nigeria currently utilize to meet their energy needs? Do you think the government is doing enough to tackle the energy crisis in the country?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Ezene, for this opportunity. Thanks, fellow panelists and the audience. It's the pleasure to be here. So your questions, right? They are quite straightforward. The first question talking about, alternatives. So it's really very obvious, yeah, right? What the alternatives are, because, we know the challenge with, self-generation. We know the challenge, with our grade, and we're asking ourselves, what's the way out, right? So I think, the way out is really for businesses to start looking at other energy sources, particularly renewable energy, and in this case, solar energy, because of, many other reasons, which I will talk about, later. So I think SMEs should really look at, using renewable energy, solar energy for their businesses. So depending on the size of your business, could be anything from, a solar home system, maybe a small system that's less than 1 kilowatt, or it could be, a larger system, depending on if it's maybe a larger commercial and industrial, enterprise, or even if it's a, a big, industrial. There are solutions, across board, where solar can really come, and meet the needs of these companies. And again, with some innovations we've seen in the markets, with some of the business models we've seen in the markets, it is possible that for these SMEs to actually gradually afford some of these services. Because there's this vibe out there in the market that solar is so expensive. Of course, we know the initial capital outlay is high, right? But with some of the business models that we see now, it will be more bearable, for SMEs. You're talking about your second question, regarding the government, right? So I was just going to tease you to say, oh, is that a political question or an economic question, right? So really looking at the landscape over, I don't know, will you say 50, 60 years? Because our problems didn't really start today, right? It has been on for generations. But I think so far the government has really done something good in one sector, right? In the area of the mini grid development. So, there's this Nigeria electrification program where, with support from the World Bank and the African Development Bank, they're able to provide some funding for, mini grid development across Nigeria. And you can see that has really helped to catalyze interest, in that space. And you see businesses really coming, solar companies, both international and local, trying to do more, mini grids in Nigeria. And now it's like Nigeria is the hot cake, so to say, in the mini grid space, global. So I think that's one good initiative that the government, has, started. And I just think that they should also, maybe continue, in that. And of course, bring some modalities to maybe make it more sustainable, because there are questions around, okay, is it sustainable maybe after the rebates, and all that. But I think this is supposed to be like a catalytic program that will basically get that project, focus to grow, on its own. Then also there's been a lot of talk around, Solar Nigeria, and they're trying to provide funding to the CBN, for that space. So I think that's also something good, that they've done. Then something very interesting came up, I think early this week or late last week or over the weekend, right? Where the Lagos state government, they have this engagement, with the World Bank, and with some funders, where they are looking at having 1 gigawatt, of solar PV in Lagos State over the next, 5 to 8 years. Right, so they're looking at funding of maybe $300 to $700 million, and it's something that they really look very serious with, and a lot of parties and stakeholders that are working on this. So I think this will really make a lot of difference in Lagos State, because they are saying 60% will be for C&I, while 20% will be for residential and 20% for government facilities. So if the Lagos State government can get this kind of program started, that will really help SMEs a lot, because they're looking at SMEs, rooftop solars, across Lagos State. And again, that will also get other state government to start thinking about what they can also do to support, the growth of, solar renewable energy in their own domains.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robo. Thank you for that insights. To the audience, you can start sending in your questions. So if you have questions, you can send it through the Q&A session, and we will take your questions as we go along. Okay, so Mr. Otto Nkeme, how sustainable are these alternative energy sources that SMEs currently utilize, and why should they matter in decision makers?
Okay, thank you, Ezinne. It's not sustainable. It's not. It's even. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because if you look at what has happened between January and today, with respect to the cost of PMS and AGO, especially AGO, you will know that it will only take just another matter of few months or a year, and you begin to see a lot of SMEs going into extinction because they will be unable to cope. You now see businesses shutting down. You now see some of them laying off workers, which will also impact on the unemployment rates that we're already battling. Already, you know the poverty index of the country. So the current alternative energy that SMEs are leveraging now, which is actually using their diesel power generators, is not important. It's not sustainable. That is the more reason why SMEs should begin to look at alternative energy supply. Of course, if you look at the statistics, you notice that we spend about $22 billion on importing petroleum product, and there's a report that shows that about 2020-21 we spent about $12 billion fueling our generators, and Nigerians spent about $2 billion importing generators. So you can imagine if we can start scaling and moving towards adopting alternative energy like renewable energy, solar for instance, and in another 1 year we're able to make a 50% savings. This will impact greatly in terms of improving the cash flow of MSMEs, and of course enable them to also acquire more machineries, enable them to digitize, improve their production processes, their quality of their output, and all of that. So it's important that SMEs begin to think of this. Yes, some of them might argue to say the initial outlay, to acquire some of it, like basically a 3 kVA generator, 3 kVA solar company like Energy, who is already providing this affordable, and solid solar solutions that can enable SMEs to also buy and also pay over a period of time, and also the banks also support them. So for the SMEs on this call, what you are doing right now is not sustainable. Some are already eating into their profit, into their capital. You are borrowing more. You are seeing that your working capital funding that you are taking, is not really channeled into, pure working capital in terms of raw materials, but rather you are using it to you are spending so much in terms of energy consumption. So it is not affordable. So my advice, from where I sit, and also looking at the overall play, of the finances of these MSMEs, is that there is a need for them to change strategy. There are certain things MSMEs can do. For instance, the SMEs in a particular location can actually co-locate and actually subscribe for a bundled solar solution, and be able to pay over a period of time, and not taking the cost alone. So you can do some level of shared services, and this should matter to SMEs in terms of making strategic decisions and begin to see the impact of this one that adopt these solutions over the next period of months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otto. Thank you for that response. Okay, so we will be launching our poll now. So get ready to respond to the poll. Let's try and understand what your situation is. So the poll will come up every second from now, and we look forward to seeing the responses. Let's even have an understanding of what you're experiencing or what is happening in your own sector or in your own business. Okay, so while the poll is coming on, I will move on to the next question. And the next question, okay, so I'll have maybe more than one of the speakers actually speak to this. So the question goes, let's talk about the ongoing global energy crisis happening now. So how long do you think SMEs can endure the diesel crisis, and what are the viable ways to manage its effects? So let's hear from Tolulope first, and then Otto, and then Mr. Robo will go as well.
Isn't it? Sorry, you might have to repeat the last part of your question.
Okay, so let's talk about the ongoing global energy crisis. How long do you think SMEs can endure the diesel crisis, and what are the viable ways to manage the effects?
Okay, so if you look at the global energy crisis, where exactly is this coming from? In the past few months, coming into 2022 and just waking up and seeing that diesel is now 800. And then I think the first question people wanted to ask was why, what happened, and you discovered that a lot of people were blaming the government, but I dare say that this challenge, this price hike is beyond the government, because it's actually a global issue. So I think it's even good that we really go back to the foundation, because of course we know that our own Nigerianness plays a huge part, because we don't have any of our oil refineries working at full capacity. We have a lot of oil bunkering. Maybe if we had some level of domestic supply, it would have probably cushioned the effect to a reasonable extent. Then you have like the OPEC basket, and then you need to look at which countries are the oil producing countries globally. So where does these are the refined crude that we bring in as diesel, as aviation fuel, as as petrol. Where does it come from? So it actually comes from the global market. Now, the moment there is a disruption in the global supply chain, the moment there's a disruption in any country that actually produces, and maybe a major supplier or a major consumer, there's an imbalance in that ecosystem. Now, we all know about the Russia-Ukraine war, and we all know that Russia is actually one of the biggest oil producer and even oil exporter globally. Now, this global economic crisis, they are not. It's not just in Nigeria. So you can look at the price of what they call it now, the price of gas. You see Americans and everybody, complaining about the increase. So it's affecting everyone. In fact, today, I heard that for the first time in almost maybe 15 or more years, Germany is contemplating on turning on their coal power plants, because there is no gas supply from Russia. So countries that are dependent on Russia for gas or for imports, they are now going back to, maybe coal and because they know that solar is not so sufficient. Now in Nigeria, we're going to apply a law of economics in Nigeria. I don't know if the bankers here can agree with me that whatever goes up does not come down in Nigeria. So whenever you see anything going up in Nigeria, we know that it just tends to stay up and up. And then globally, we've gone through a lot of oil and gas crises, global crises, from where oil and gas companies were enjoying like supernormal profits. We had all the big boys in shell. It's not like that today because of this kind of imbalance. Now, where I see it is that I don't think this war, even if the war ends tomorrow and all of that, because it has really created a ripple effect, right? We are going to be left for a while to grapple with the effect of the supply chain imbalances. You can also see that countries like China and India are actually still buying from Russia. They don't care. They are not under the sanctions. They are not under NATO. They're still buying and all of that. So, but I know that globally, it would take about another 1 year for us to see, the shift, so whether the shift will now be a shift that will stay at 800 Naira, or maybe things will come down. But I also don't want us to think that it's only the global prices. Global prices are being set by Platts, by ICE, by a lot of other intermediaries. Now, we also have the issue of the dollar in Nigeria. And I want to say thank you to every SME, because the more we produce, the more our GDP gets better. Now, we are grappling not just with a global supply chain issue, we're now grappling with the power of the Naira, devaluation. So if it comes down tomorrow, but then next year, God forbid, the dollar is now 1,000. Guess what? We're still going to be the same thing. Now, these oil marketers, they still have to source Forex, because we are not producing locally. Everything still goes back to the dollar, devaluation, elections, and a whole lot of other things. Like, it's a chain. It's almost like so I would say that while waiting for the prices to go down. It's good that we anticipate. It's good that, it's a positive thing that we all pray. Oh, in Nigeria, we do pray a lot, right? It's possible that we all wait. But while we're waiting, can we then begin to look at alternatives? Can we then begin to look at alternatives like solar? In Nigeria, we have good irradiation, even from the west to the north. Northern part of Nigeria has fantastic irradiation. So can we start to explore alternatives while waiting, so that we all just don't wait in vain? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tolulope. Thank you. So let's hear from Otto.
Okay, thank you very much, Ezinne. So beyond what Tolulope has said, we also will need to consider the environmental impact, the climate challenges, using fossil fuel. I was just looking at a report the other time, like in 2020, a country like America, from burning fossil fuel, it led to about 230,000 deaths, and there are also several economic impacts, resulting to about $600 billion. So for us in Nigeria, we also need to look at the climate impact, the environmental impact of using this fossil fuel. Yes, we can say that we are hoping that the Ukraine-Russia war is going to stop. We are hoping that the Dangote refinery is going to be up and running and all of that. But again, what we are trying to also say is that we need to also look about, think about the green energy, how we can also have a healthy environment. And what is also today come down from 850 to 300 naira. A lot of MSMEs can still not afford it. There are some MSMEs that cannot even afford generating sets, especially those of them that are micro MSMEs littered all over the places. And so the only sustainable power that they can look at, sustainable source of power, should be to look at the alternatives like we are discussing, which solar is part of it. Today there are lots of equipment, items that they can use in their homes and businesses, to power their businesses. You're a restaurant. Today we have solar stoves that can charge and even cook for 12 to 14 hours. Down to power bank, we have solar power bank. We have solar powered clippers. So SMEs need to be deliberate, even in terms of acquiring tools and business tools and equipment that they need, to leverage those equipment that can be powered by alternative source of power. So even if you don't have a solar panel today, for instance, and you are running a salon, you have solar bulbs, you have solar clippers and all of that. So when you begin to acquire some of the things that you even need as an SME in your business, apart from putting an alternative solar solution in place, you also need to complement it by also making sure that some of those drivers, those equipment or machineries that you also need in your business, if they can be powered by solar, you also need to look at that. And let us not always be scared, or some people are giving you vibes that are quite expensive. If you are buying a generator, it's expensive. You also need to keep on servicing, maintaining it. I remember having a conversation with a customer, and he's been asking if he has bought like about 2-3 generators in the last 3 years, and these generators are about 5 to 10 kV and they're not coming cheap. So sometimes because they're expensive, you want to buy them to Kumbo, and these to Kumbo, depending on the kV, you still run into millions, and you use them after a while. You are trying to change their rings and all of that. But if you have put those funds together, especially even the ones you took as some form of facility, and you had acquired probably a 5 kVA, solar solution, another 2, 3, 4 years, you won't be talking about changing. And again, SMEs also need to be deliberate when they also acquiring some of this, trying to leverage some of the renewable energies. And that's why a company like Energy will be there to guide you. For instance, if you might want to put a solution in place that has about 3 kVA capacity, and right now you might be able to only afford about a battery or 2. Okay, but over the next 6 months, 1 year, you must make a provision on how you can scale in case you need to increase your solar panels, you need to increase their battery over the next 6 months. That's why there must be planning, and that's why you must also work with professionals like energy to be able to carry out an energy audit. And of course, you also be able to understand what is it that I need to power my business. What are those critical components of my business and even my home that I need to power, and what is going to be the cost implication. And you can also talk to your bankers if you don't have that more money, and you can be able to scale. So right now there are lots of products out there in banks like in Wema Bank, and also energy in question. So you can do a buy and pay letter arrangement or pay small arrangement and be able to scale. So beyond us hoping that this crisis is going to stop, that you're going to have the refinery working, and overall importance for MSMEs to look at what is going to come to in terms of costs in their bottom line, and of course looking at green energy environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otto. Thank you. Just to remind our audience that the poll is still on. We'll leave it on for maybe 2 more minutes. So kindly respond to the poll. So far we have 53% responses. So let's hear from you what the situation is in your business, what you're experiencing. Okay, so Mr. Robo, kindly speak to the question.
Yeah, so I think they've actually said everything regarding this, but I think what I just want to add is that in the area of inflation, right? So what has happened over the past year is that our inflation is actually going very fast, right? So we have inflation of almost 18% now, and growing. So that's of course negatively affecting every business. Then so there are really no quick solutions, right? So like business will just think about, oh, okay, at least I can still survive for a while, but they can look at, okay, look, let me front load the cost of my diesel, right? But again, how much diesel can you buy, and store, right? So another solution that people think, short-term solution, is that, okay, I can always pass the cost to my customers. But again, how much cost will you pass to your customers? If you pass, your cost too much, of course, customers, customers will stop buying your product. So that's basically not, a solution also. The other thing that people also think about is that, oh, maybe I can also reduce my working hours. But again, that will also affect your business, negatively, right? So the only solution we really say is, look, you need to find a way to get off, off diesel. And getting off diesel, that means, going into renewable energy, into solar energy. So solar energy is the solution. Find a way to get a solar solution that meets, your business need. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Robo. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next question. The poll responses are still coming in, so we'll give you a few more minutes to drop in your responses. There are also questions in the Q&A, so keep sending in your questions. We will soon start taking the questions. So just to give Mr. Adeyemi, so you have the floor. Let's understand in summary, how will you rank the viable ways for SMEs to manage the diesel crisis in terms of their reliability?
Oh, thank you very much, Ezine. A lot has been said around the challenges and the threats it poses to the survival of SMEs. And if we look at all the possible challenges, it all boils down to wanting to have a sustainable way to provide energy for SMEs to grow and to keep their operations, right? So one of the most important thing to do that I see is that is what we are doing here today, educating SMEs to understand that there's actually an alternative around powering their businesses and also giving the chance to have energy to keep their businesses running. And also ensuring that the right understanding of what is required and the right strategy to deploy, which the other panelists has also spoken about. So ranking the alternative, I'll say solar energy seems to be the most reasonable and the most prevalent access to address the power challenge. So if we look at everything that the other speakers have spoken about, it ranges from costs, it ranges from trying to have an understanding of how well they can be more strategic around running their business. It's also around the global energy crisis, what are the alternatives, and also the survival of businesses if they keep running on alternatives that would have adverse effects on their profit. So it is very glaring that the only way to address this is to stick to renewable sources, which makes it such that when you have those sources running to power your business, you don't need to keep boring yourself around the cost of buying fuel, maintaining your generator, and all that. And energy has made it such that we've been able to look into the problems, right? And we've been able to look at the challenges and the opportunities that would surface if there is enough power for SMEs to run. And we've been able to create different channels to cater for different sort of problems that the SMEs are facing regarding financing, regarding sizing of the required power of required equipment that they need to run, regarding how to even measure their productivity, looking at the amounts of energy they have, and also reliability and also genuinity of the kind of equipment that are deployed. So I'll go back to my first point, which is education. It's like a myth out there for a lot of people believe renewable energy doesn't work. It does not meet your power expectation because there is an erroneous belief that has been implanted in people because of the poor experiences that people had over a period of time. That is why part of what we are doing today, which is educating SMEs, will make them understand that renewable energy is real. Renewable energy can power as much as anything you want to power, as long as the right sizing and the right expertise is put into play. Then energy has been able to build a diversification around what part of their business addresses a certain sector of the economy. But I won't be speaking to the other ones at this webinar because we are here to talk about SMEs. So we look at one of the biggest challenges, power of the accusation of having the solution. It could be the problem of the upfront cost of having a solution is expensive, but energy has been able to look at it like rating a certain SME or understanding their cash flow or understanding their power need. We've been able to create different avenues to say we have different types of access to acquire our products laid out. For SMEs that cannot do outright purchase, that is buying the system outrightly, we look at financing over a period of time. Would you be able to finance the product from month 1 to 36 months, or do you need an extended period of time, trying to allow their own cash flow not to be tied to having it on power alone, because they need to keep the business running and have every other thing working. And we've also been able to look at some businesses are not even interested in having the equipment or the solution. They're interested in provide me power so I can run my business, then I pay you. So we have what we also call power as a service. That is energy as a service, to say whatever you use, that is what you pay for. So what we do is we do the right sizing, understanding your power need, preferring solution. We own the equipment, we do the maintenance, we do all that is required for it to be up and running. Then we have our monitoring there, and you would pay for whatever it is that you have consumed in running your business. So it's as good as you have maybe national grid, because we know it's not reliable. That is the reason why we're looking for alternative. Now you're not, you don't have any input in maintaining how the grid is generated from the national grid, how it is distributed and all that. So we are putting ourselves in that gap to provide that reliability for that service to you as a business. Then another thing around that I spoke around equipment is for renewable energy equipment, it is not the same for every equipment that you see out there in the market, and people need to know. It is not the size of a solar panel, for example, how big it is, that makes the efficiency of the solar panel. it is what the solar panel can actually deliver. And when you look at the most critical part of renewable energy products, which is the battery, there are a lot of reliability that should be tied to the battery, which means if they are inferior or they don't give you the expected lifespan that will give you the comfort of investing in it, it means you're going to keep running a capital investment, trying to put in your money to ensure that you replace at a certain period of time. But here at Energy, we've been able to look at all those problems. We've been able to scale through doing our findings over 8 years to understand that the most reliable source of storage is what we should prefer to our customers. So we want to ensure that you have a product that gives you a lifespan that outweighs the cost of what you're expending if you look at the maths, breaking it down on your expenses or expenditure on running your business. And we've been able to ensure that we use tier 1 equipment and we are the OEM of our own equipment. So we have been able to design those solutions to ensure that the solar panels, with the batteries, with the inverter, with the monitoring accesses that you have, works seamlessly that you don't even notice any itch, and you would have your business running perfectly and power is being delivered, energy is being delivered to you, and your business keeps running and you're just there to make your profit. So I would implore every SME here today to understand that speaking to the right person when you're making a choice of a product to power your business is very key. And the reason why we brought you here today, why we are all here today, it's because we want to address that gap. We want to educate you. We want to lead you through the path that will make you understand that power delivery, reliability, equipment, and all that you need to power your business is right here at Energy. And there's something we've been able to do at Energy. We've been able to ensure that power delivery is married with technology. So we make it such that it is easy for you to understand your power consumption. It is easy for you to go to a dashboard that will provide for you to understand what are the peak periods that I need to use more power. What are the periods that I need to use less power? What amounts of power am I consuming at this stage of my business? If I want to expand, what amount of power will be required? So you have a dashboard that tells you the real thing that goes down behind the energy that is being dispensed to you for usage. So I would say you don't have any problems, you don't have any worries looking at the kind of laid down access to finance your product, buying your renewable energy product, to the part of even having power as a service and you pay for what you've consumed. We've been able to consider putting ourselves in the shoes of the SME to say, hey, we want to provide reliability and we want to provide comfort and we want you to run your business and make the required profits and stay in business. That will be it for now.
Thank you very much, Adeyemi. Thank you for that detailed explanation. So we'll be bringing the poll to an end now. I take it that every audience there have responded. So we'll be sharing the results so we can see the situation and for people who are on this session today. So we have 3 questions there. The first question saying, how many hours of power do you need to efficiently run your business on a daily basis? And 34% say 10 to 14 hours of power daily. And 22% says 15 to 19 hours. 20 to 24 hours, about 9%, and 34% said 5 to 9 hours. What is your current alternative power source to the national grid? And a whopping 78% use diesel and fuel generators. So we know that we all have work to do. What capacity of generator inverter are you currently using to power your business operations? And majority use between 2 to 5 kVA. We have people who use 10 to 20 kVA, between 20 to 30 kVA and above 50 kVA. we have about 13% who use below 1.5 kVA. So this, I'm sure this is self-explanatory. We all know where we are. We all know what the needs of the SMEs are. For the panelists, you can all see where they are, and we need to keep the customer education on. We need to ensure that they understand that they have options, right? Okay, so there are questions in the Q&A. So I will be taking a question from Otto Obong. And this question, I'd like Mr. Otto to take this question. So, well, what will you say the percentage of adoption has been among SMEs for solar energy alternatives? So, Mr. Otto.
Okay, thank you. I might not be able to give you an exact percentage, but what I can tell you is that there has been, a big improvement in terms of SMEs, trying to adopt solar energy. So I don't have the statistics for the country, but what I can tell you that at least from our own customer pool, a whole lot of them are now beginning to adopt alternative energy sources like solar. And if you look at why they are also adopting this, is no other reason than to be able to ensure that they keep them, so they continue to stay in business, reduce the operational costs, and of course improve their profitability. And I would also advise you and encourage you to also start looking at that, and Energy is also a company that you can look at to enable you, to save. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otto. And the next question, Adeyemi would like you to take the next question. What provision do they have for consultation and installment payments within what duration too?
Okay, so provision for consultation, if you request to have a solution, we either do a phone audit if what you require is not that big that we can understand the equipment you want to power and make and prefer a recommendation to you, or carry out an energy audit. An energy audit would be understanding, taking note of the power rating of each equipment you want to power, what period do you require it to run, and we'll make a recommendation to you. So the third option we do is we carry out data logging for big manufacturing firms and for big businesses. So we do bring our equipment, we have it there for a period of time, maybe a week, so we can do an analysis of what your data or power consumption is, and do a kind of recommendation based on the pattern we've noticed while carrying out the energy logging. So for all that, the aim and purpose is to be able to recommend what will be sufficient to power your business. And it is very paramount, because in renewable energy, I tell people it's like having a bucket of water and you want to make use of that bucket of water for 3 different purposes: wash your plates, wash your laundry, or clean the house. Then if you are limited to that bucket of water, what will be the priority? So what will determine the bucket of water you have is how much money you're also ready to expend at a certain period of time. So we want to ensure that we give you reliability based on what you can afford. And as Otto has said the other time, my co-panelist, is you can start at a certain level today, and when there's a need for you to scale up, you can scale up to meet your power requirements in the nearest future. So what we now do is we want to make the recommendation, because when we promise to you, you're going to have power 5 hours of your operating business time, which is the agreed time. We want to ensure that that 5 hours is actually delivered to you. So it is very necessary. It is not an assumption. It is not national grid. When you have national grid, you can just plug everything in your home and just leave it. Though the impact is now on it today that as much as you consume, we now have meters around. That will now determine how much kilowatts you've been able to consume. So way back when it used to be NEPA, people don't care. You just plug all your appliances and you go, and there is a fixed amount that you pay monthly. So on renewable energy, that is how it applies to, which means you need to have the right sizing to power your equipment. So for acquisition of having the equipment, we've been able to break it down depending on understanding your financial power or your constraints, and also ensuring that we can meet you at a point where we want to encourage you to keep running your business. Do you have the power to acquire outrightly? That is payment, 100% payment of the cost of the solution. However, at Energy, we provide 5 years warranty on our equipment. Even if you buy outrightly today, we'll still be there to support you from day 1 till 5 years and even beyond. It's just that from day 1 till 5 years, if anything goes wrong, and it becomes our responsibility to ensure that we rectify. But after then, it might come at a cost, at a reasonable cost, that we want to ensure that the lifespan of what we've promised to you would actually be delivered. Or are you a business that feels, I don't want to tie my cash flow on the acquisition of a renewable energy product now. I want to have it spread over maybe 3 years or beyond. But right now we do standard between 1 year to three years, but we have other financing partners, depending on how big the project or how small, they might be able to structure something that will be beyond the standard 36 months that we do. So if you want to pay over a period on a monthly basis for 36 months, we call it lease to own. Then after the 36 months, the equipment becomes yours. You're not paying, you're just consuming, you're generating and you're consuming. Then we also have what we call power as a service. Power as a service is providing energy to you. What energy you tell us, or when we do our data logging or energy audits, we know what it is required. And we need to ensure that we meet you at the point of your need by providing that energy requirement to you to run your business, and you pay for what has been consumed for those periods of time. It is transparent. We are going to have a meter or something that is at your location that you'll be able to see what you've consumed. And we also have as to also corroborate what you're seeing at your own point. So there is no hidden maybe charges and all that. It is very plain. Then, depending on the kind of business, we've been able to also design different kinds of solutions to meet your need. Are you somebody that requires maybe a bigger generation during the day, maybe a heavy daytime user? You might not necessarily need a lot of storage. What you might need is to generate a lot during the day, because that is where you run, maybe from 8 o'clock to 5. Then we have other customers that will run from 8 o'clock to 12 midnight. We know you need every generation during the day, and you also need storage. We have some customers that they don't need to run their businesses during the day. They run their businesses maybe late at night. Maybe you're a club owner, you're a joint owner and all that. We understand what they also need is storage. So the kind of ideas we've been able to put together is we've been able to understand the prevalent challenges, the requirement for energy at some certain period of time, and it is not the same for individual. So we'll be able to tailor your requirements, be able to tailor a recommendation that would fix it. But whatever energy requirement that you have, you bring it to Energy. We have the right approach and the solution to address it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adeyemi. You had to do free consultation right there. Thank you so much. Okay, so there are a couple of questions, and these questions feels like they're all directed to Adeyemi, but so there was a question I saw about warranty. Could you just mention if the products you're talking about, Adeyemi, what the warranty is?
Okay, thank you, isn't it? So at Energy, we offer 5 years warranty, and I would tell you that in the industry currently, I'm not seeing a competitor that matches that, because the usual experience, I would say, if you buy a product from the normal product distributor around here in Nigeria, and you walk out of their business space and you bring it that you have issues, some will keep telling you stories, they'll keep pushing you back and forth. and you would also accept that it used to be perceived as a norm how some people run businesses in Nigeria. I've been able to distance ourselves to create a clear distinction about the values we stand for and how we want to support SMEs and individuals when it comes to power acquisition. We have 5 years warranty that we're providing to ensure that we support you and give you all the required attention that the product runs and meet your expectations.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Adeyemi. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of this session. We'll just take a few more questions. I saw a question. Someone asked if you must have a Wema Bank account for this, Otto?
Okay, yeah, so if you want us to finance you, you need to open an account where we disperse the money and disperse the facility into your account. And you don't need to have an account with Wema Bank and run it for months. For this program, if you open an account with Wema Bank today, you can get funding today and you can buy from Energy. So when you are opening an account to start running it, you only open an account and give us your account statement from the other bank. Let us see your cash flow and understand how much you can take as repayment, and immediately we'll look at it. It takes less than 12 hours. We'll disburse the money to you, and of course, you will now pay Energy from them, have your solutions deployed. Thank you.
Thank you, Otto. That was very short and straight to the point. So I'm sure for the person that asked that question, you're clear. You do not need to open a Wema Bank account. You can choose to open if you want Wema Bank to finance you. You can also use your preferred banking and work with if you want to purchase from Energy as well. Okay, so we have a couple of other questions, but I would like to ask a question. I have a question for Tolulope and I have a question for Robo as well. So Tolulope, how should the SMEs go about the process of adopting an alternative energy source? What key factors should they consider when adopting an alternative energy source?
All right. Hi, Ezine. Thank you. I mean, it's been a very good discussion, very insightful. I would say to the SMEs, you can go one step at a time. So the good thing about solar solution or alternative power is that it's scalable, it's modular. You don't need to decide that you want to power all the equipment at once. You can start step by step, layer on layer, so you can start with what is important to power, what is the need to have, how many hours do I need to have it, and can I also restructure my operations around this, so don't keep looking at it in terms of, oh, it's too expensive. You can actually start with maybe a 1.5 kilowatts, 1 kilowatt, and maybe we're also using this medium to encourage Energy to break down the bulk. I think somebody actually, the banker actually mentioned it, that, oh, maybe it'll be good to have like a 3 kVA and all of that. Not everybody needs a 5 kVA. Not everybody can afford that. But can we start from the minimum and then build up the system, because the systems are they're scalable, it's very modular. So I would say focus on what you need to do, focus on what you need to focus on the cash at hand, focus on and I also want to say that don't be afraid of taking credit, because as long as you have a sustainable business, as long as you're sure that you're running a sustainable business, a transparent business, and you know that it can grow, so you can also ensure that you have partners like Energy and Wema Bank that want to grow along with your business, so start and layer it one after the other, and then you can build it then to exactly what you need at the end of the day, maybe in about 2 or 3 years, but you can start from anywhere, to be honest.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Before I go to Robo, I have a question and I would like Otto to take it. So Temitayo says alternative power is expensive. How does the average person assess it?
Okay, thank you, Temitayo. So the mindset shouldn't be that it's expensive. The mindset should be, how do I access it? So for you to access it, you need to, first and foremost, like the energy expert has said, Adeyemi rightly mentioned it, you need to know what is your energy need. So what you want to power. So once you get that cost, once they've done that energy audit and you get that cost, then of course you feel free to approach us, and we can now work with you to agree, on the repayment schedule, and we should be able to finance you, because you must see it this way. Even if you don't take that financing and you don't buy it, you still continue to buy diesel or buy fuel anyways. Some of you are also in locations where you don't have a prepaid meter and you are being given an estimated bill, and that estimated bill sometimes SMEs and we all complain is not justifiable. So by the time you aggregate the estimated bill you are given every month and how much you also expend, in buying diesel or fuel, wouldn't it rather be better for you that you aggregate that money and of course use it to acquire a sustainable alternative energy solution that can last you for another 10 years? So I've seen Rukayat's question. I'm going to leave my contact. So let us have the mindset that we want to migrate to alternative energy solution. So the next thing will now be, what do I need? What's the capacity that I need? So energy can run and a power audit. So even if you want to power everything that could take you like 3 kVA, but what is very basic and immediate is 1.5. We can start you on a 1.5 kVA, and over time in the next 6 months or 1 year, you can now scale up to the required power requirement that you need. So let's have that mindset, and I can assure you that by the time you aggregate what you are spending now, you find that it's not something expensive, that you can use that to service your rentals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otto.
Sorry, as in, I also would think, I'm passionate about MSMEs. So, Yemi might need to also talk about some of them that might want to be distributors. You have some distributors across the federation. So it's also going to be an additional means of income for the MSMEs on this call. And they can also serve as your outlets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otto. I think there was actually a question coming up for Yemi around that. So hopefully he would then, maybe Adeyemi, maybe you take the floor. So just talk about just like Otto mentioned, the opportunity to be a distributor, as well as any other insights that would be beneficial to the SMEs.
Okay, thank you. So we have access to working with different people on different capacities. So the first one, we call it, which could be beneficial to SMEs, we call it a solar angel handle of our go-to-market strategy, by working with different people that has influence in either their community or that can maybe make recommendations for people that can partner with us in buying our products. So we have a platform where we accommodate you, we give you all the necessary support to be able to market the products, then we pay you an incentive on each of deals that you close. Then for distributors, we have 3 different bands of distributors. We have band 1, band 2, band 3, depending on the volume you can accommodate to purchase and distribute. Then we'll give you all the necessary support. So what we do by classifying it into different bands is to be able to give you discounts based on the amount of volume you can drive. And also for anybody that has the capacity and the power to maybe do installations and all that, we also welcome you to join us. You go through vetting and all that, then we can assign installation and you get paid for whatever services rendered to energy.
Thank you very much, Adeyemi. So before I come back to you, Adeyemi, I'd like to ask Mr. Robo. So what workable partnership opportunities can SMEs access in Nigeria to increase their access to energy?
Yeah, so thanks, Isn't it, for that question. So there are a number of things that I think SME should do, right? So one of the first things that comes to my mind is that they should look at having, how they can work, through their trade associations, right? Because again, some of love, SMEs, they like, to maybe work alone, get their things done alone, have, negotiations, on their own, right? But if they come together as a body, right? For example, maybe Barbers, association, or you have maybe a couple of, retailers, association. So if your trade association, you come together with one voice and you not try to engage with, solar providers, financial, institutions, then you're not able to get a solution that will work better for you and work better, for everybody. But once, and you have a better chance, to like negotiate, where you maybe have more, more favorable terms, when you discuss with the solar provider, with the financial institutions. So our advice SMEs that is very, very important that you get your trade association to really come together, look at these energy needs, your energy solutions we're talking about, and come with one voice to engage with partners. So once you have that trade association to then you can now talk to other partners. So I think number one, on that partnership list, right, with financial institutions. So of course, we have a bank and you have Wema Bank here. So it's, yes, there might be questions regarding interest rate, and things like that. But again, right, that's what we have on ground now, right? And if you come as a trade association or as a cooperative and you engage with your financial partner, then you're not able to have some kind of leverage when you discuss with you. So it's very, very important that you identify a financial partner that is willing to engage. And the good thing about what has happened over the last couple of years is that a number of commercial banks are actually keen on engaging in this sector. So once they see that critical mass of association of cooperative, then they'll be able to see what more they can do and have the right product paper in place, to support the sector. Then, of course, solar companies, right? So energy is here, a leader, in the space. They also need to negotiate. So I think your most important partnerships, your trade association, your financial institution, then the solar company you need to engage with. And one other thing I also want to ask, talk about also is advocacy groups, right? Like what we are doing now is really very important, educating SMEs. But again, there are a lot of advocacy groups that are around, in Nigeria, in Lagos, in Abuja, that actually engage. So if you, talk to these trade associations, you are not able, these, advocacy, groups, you're not able to better understand, right? And they're not able to better guide you on what to do, what to say, who to engage with. Because at times, you just want to go on your own and get things done on your own. But if you talk to experts that are already in that, space, or you talk to, advocacy groups that are active in that space, then you know more of what to do, and they'll show you how best to go about this. So yeah, your cooperative or trade association, your financial, institution, your solar company, and advocacy groups. These are key partners that you should have to make the best of solar solutions.
Thank you very much. Sorry, if you don't mind, I just want to add just one comment to what Robo, you just nailed it. And I just want to say, right on what Robo just said, even down to those of us that live in gated estate and gated communities, you can just put yourself together. You have an association. A typical example of what Robo has said now is what has happened in the internet services industry. Today, we have lots of SMEs with as little as 8, 9, 10,000 naira. They have unfettered access to fiber networks. So without mentioning any name here, we know that a lot of estates today have been able to bring in fiber, fiber net internet services into the estate, and even gated communities. And people now within that place just subscribe. And as against you bringing in, that fiber optics into your estate, into your house would have been a lot more expensive. So the cluster approach that Robo just mentioned is also something that can enable you scale and reduce the cost of this deployment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otto. Thank you for that point. And thank you, Robo, for that insight as well. Okay, so I have a final question for Tolulope. So Tolulope, I would like you to take this question, and then Adeyemi can also add to this question as well. So alternative power sources like fuel generators and solar systems vary widely in terms of their acquisition and running costs. How should SMEs balance these variations in capital expenditure, that's their CapEx, as well as their OpEx as well, when making decisions?
Right. Okay. So I would want us to look at what a CapEx decision is. Thank you. So when you're looking at capex decision, I mean, whatever you're buying and you know that it's just a one-off, it probably maybe would not cost you too much to maintain it over a period of time. But if you're making a decision and whatever you're buying, you're going to have to, there's going to be a need to keep servicing it, right? So for instance, you're going to look at things like your diesel generator or petrol generator. It cannot function without the energy source. It can't function without the diesel. So you're going to keep making recurring expenses on, I mean, daily, weekly, monthly basis, you know, as the case may be. Now, I believe that solar actually affords you a decision to, it's capex and it's actually capital intensive, but you're sure that, you know, with companies like Energy giving us like 5 years warranty, you know, in the next 5 years, I mean, the only thing I probably need to do is just wash my panels and just do like a few checks. So you've made a decision today that can actually tide you for 60 months. So I think you need to look at your books. You need to look at and based on what I said earlier, in terms of you can actually start small and grow, you know, so making a capex investment today, but you're sure that, you know, you're not going to keep incurring monthly OPEX because it's just going to be a fixed sunk cost. And then you then look at maybe very minimal, you know, maintenance costs along the life cycle. And, you know, when we also talk about warranties, you know, warranty actually just means that there is a replacement guarantee if anything happens. But then we're not still talking about the shelf life. Now, most of these equipment actually have a shelf life. I mean, you have solar panels with a shelf life of 15, 20 years, batteries with 9 years. So you know that whatever, so imagine you've taken a position based on dollar or whatever it is today. I know that in the next 8, 9 years, you're still going to keep using this equipment. You're still going to, so rather than making constant, so you're left with fuel prices going in 850, 950, 1,000, or you might go to 1,002, and then we're sitting down, we're all hyperventilating and almost having a heart attack. So you're going to save yourself a lot of those kind of hassles by making this kind of decision and making the switch today. So I believe that as SMEs, you know, we need to be very prudent. We also need to be very financially savvy and make the right decision based on, you know, what we're looking at, based on where our company is going to, and based on growth, you know, making a profit and based on growth of the company. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. And I'll let Adeyemi also attempt that question and maybe give us some a bit more practical that SMEs can also understand how this OPEX affects their business.
Thank you very much, isn't it? So looking at acquisition of maybe a generator that runs on diesel, let's look at maybe a 50 kVA generator, and you want it to run for maybe 10 hours thereabouts, and diesel is at 800 naira or 870 currently. So the first thing you need to look at is the cost of acquisition. How much is the 50 kVA generator? Then you need to look at how much diesel you need to run for 10 hours. Do you need 60 liters or more than, or do you need 120 liters? If you do the mathematics by 870, and we also look at the cost of maintenance. And another thing we also need to look at is the capacity of the generator delivers at a certain minimum threshold. So if you have a 50 kVA generator, for example, running, and your power requirements at a certain time maybe is a 10 kVA, that means that generator is running at a certain capacity that is not being utilized. That's actually a waste. So there's no efficiency in that. Looking at the cost savings benefit, if you're acquiring a solution like Tolulope mentioned, the cost of the solution, acquisition of that solution at the first point, if you spread it over a period of years, maybe let's give, for example, we are looking at running the cost of what a 50 kVA generator will do for 5 years. So we need to consider cost of acquisition of generator, cost of diesel, cost of maintenance, and all that. Put side by side the cost of running the same size of renewable energy solution, which is a 50 kVA for that period of time. You would understand that it is a lot cheaper, it is more efficient, and you don't need to keep running recurrent costs as the case might be. So overall, if you don't, the cost of acquisition at the beginning should not be the points of where your interest will be weighted off. You need to look at the period at which you need this service to run. And for example, the shelf life of most of the products we are using, the solar panels over 25 years, the lithium batteries over 13 years, the inverters themselves over 6, 7, 8 years. And if anything happens after this period, might just be a minor replacement of some part because they're electronic devices that runs from time to time. So it is more safe, more cost efficient to use renewable energy source to power your business than running a generator. And we have not even considered the environmental factor. That is something aside. So it is better. And all this, we can put you up to speed to understand the benefits, the cost benefit to you, and how much it will save you in the course of running your business.
Thank you very much, Adeyemi. And just before you drop the mic, just one last question that I'd like to take from Ibiduni. Is your lease to own only for solar or other appliances? Do you provide ESCO services? So can you just quickly take that in 1 minute? Thank you.
Okay, so our lease to own covers a bundled solution. So what we mean by bundled solution is a total solution from the solar panel to the inverters, to the batteries, to the enclosure, to the remote monitoring. So we'd understand your preference, understanding your power need, will make a recommendation, and you now choose what tenure you want the lease to own to run. Is it 1 month, or is it 36 months, or is it more than? So that's the way our lease to own runs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very, very much to all the speakers. We've come to the end of this session. If we're not able to take your questions, our time has already overrun our time, really. We will just send your questions to our contact details. We'll put that up on the screen now. Send your questions to the email that will come up on the screen, and we will answer all your questions. So whatever question you have, I know we still have a lot of questions that we've not been able to take, but we've already taken too much of our times already. Thank you everyone for joining this session today. We are very excited that you made out time to join us on this discussion. So like I said, we've come to the end of the session today, and thank you for taking time from your busy schedules to join us. We appreciate your presence, your contributions, and your questions. Conversations like this are a step in the right direction towards achieving energy security. Like our distinguished speakers have said collectively, we all have a part to play. And on this note, I would like to leave you with this. According to Thomas Sowell, life does not ask what we want, it presents us with options. Hence, life in Nigeria has presented us with the unreliable electricity we now have. The option to go solar and power our businesses. So thank you all very much. And thank you to the speakers. I know we've stayed beyond the time that we planned on ending this session, but it was so interactive. There were questions that just kept coming in, and we couldn't. So if you have one last word, one final word before we drop off, you can just go ahead and say.
Okay, for me, I would just say thank you. It was a very good session. And what I would say to the SMEs is to go solar and grow your profit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, from here, I would say Energy is here to fix all your power issues. Why not trust us and make a call today so we can listen to you and provide a solution? It's been an engaging time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thanks for the time. So my last word would be to basically encourage SMEs that they should go for solar. Yes, there are challenges. There might be questions regarding affordability, but again, there are solutions out there. There are financial solutions out there that will help you out. So go out there, look for it, work with other like-minded businesses, look for those solutions and implement it. By doing that, you're going to save your business and grow your business. Go solar. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So if you have questions, please send to the email on the screen. You can send to support@anergy.com. You can also send to sales@anergy.com. So send your questions, your inquiries. I saw some comments around distributors and distributorship and partnerships and all of that. So send in your questions, your inquiries. And if you have a question for any particular speaker, please send in your questions. I know there were some questions around Wema Bank as well. So whatever questions you have, please send it to the email and then the speakers will do justice to respond to them. Thank you all once again for joining us and have a fantastic day ahead.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
you.